Greetings. Today we're going to present a video on the meaning and number of the name of a man. And I'd like to say at the beginning here that the conclusions of this video are not definitive, and it's really a hypothesis like we presented before, and we'll have to see if events play out as we might expect. Now, you may recall from one of our prior videos on the Daniel's 70th week, the first part, that we had mentioned that shortly after the birth of the planet Jupiter from the womb of Virgo on the 15th of October 2017, the following week, Jared Kushner flew to Riyadh to present the deal of the century, which is now morphed into the Abraham Accords, to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh. And Mohammed bin Salman strongly endorsed the plan and in fact presented an ultimatum to Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Fatah organization in Israel. We also saw previously from the same video that Daniel 9:27 in the Hebrew reads V'higbir berit l'rabim shabua echad. Literally, transliterating this to English, it means he will cause to strengthen covenant with many, week one. And that V'higbir is a hyphal third-person causative verb, which means the strengthening is not done directly, but indirectly. And because MBS caused to strengthen Trump's plan, which would ultimately divide the land, that it's possible that he actually fulfilled the V'higbir portion, that he did cause to strengthen that plan by endorsing it and throwing the weight of the Sunni world behind his deal of the century. So our hypothesis that we had presented is that maybe the beginning of Daniel's 70th week occurred in October 2017, and that would make the Crown Prince a candidate. So let's take a look at his name, Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Now, bin means son of, and al means house of. Well, if we take these out as articles, then we're just left with the pure name, Mohammed Salman Abdulaziz Saud. Now, Arabic script is very similar to Hebrew in that the earliest Arabic script contain no vowels, just as ancient Hebrew contained no vowels. So if we take the vowels out of the name, we're left with the acronym MHMD, SLMN, BDLZZ, SD. So there are no vowels there, which is how it was written before vowel markings were introduced into the language. And it's really not that difficult. Below you can see, can you read this? And you don't need vowels. The brain fills in those areas just naturally. Now, John tells us in Revelation 13, verse 18, let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number is that of a man, and his number is 666. Now, the word calculate in Revelation 13:18 is derived from the Greek word sophisto, and this also is the root word for the current term isopsophy. So Greek isopsophy was a method of counting the value of a word based on the value assigned to individual letters. Now we'd like to use Greek isopsophia, and so we've plugged the acronym for his name into the isopsophia calculator without vowels and without the articles, and what we find is that it adds up to 666. And now let's look at the potential meaning of his name going back to even as far as pre-Islamic times. Now Muhammad is fairly easy in that it means worthy of praise or praiseworthy. Salman uh, in current Arabic has many meanings. The most common would be that as of a companion, mainly a companion of Muhammad, and it can also mean safe. Now, the acronym SLMN is derived from the Semitic root word SLM, and this is common in both Arabic and Hebrew, and it's the root word from which we derive words such as Salem, Salim, Shalom, meaning peace. Now, in his paper, Dr. Fiorella Scagliarini discusses the acronym SLM as found in pre-Islamic ancient inscriptions of the Arabian Peninsula in his paper. And in this paper, the acronym SLM actually refers to an idol, an image, or a statue, and it's singular. Now, SLMN is plural, but it usually is used in the sense of duality, dual images, two statues. And in fact, there were inscriptions in the Arabian Peninsula that actually gave a name to this entity, and the name was Salman, the name of a dual god. And there was a cult of the god Salman, as discussed in the paper. Now we can see this as well in the Hebrew Bible. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, it stated, "Let us make man in our image." And the Hebrew word for in our image is basalmenu. So the preposition is in, referring to ba, and then our image is salmenu, indicating a plurality, even though image is singular. And so this is the first indirect oblique reference to the triune God, who is one. Now, Abdulaziz is really a combination of two names. Abdal means servant of, while Aziz means almighty. Now, Aziz, though, is derived from Azizos. And it turns out that Azizos was a god of the morning star worshipped by Syrians in the area of Palmyra in pre-Islamic days. Now, Syrians were recruited into the Roman legions, and the Romans turned out that they liked Azizos and actually assigned him the name Lucifer. Additionally, Azizos was a dual god like Salman, and Azizos was a dual god with Monimos, Azizos being equated with Mars and Monimos with Mercury. And in this paper, Dr. Vagassi discusses the cult of Azizos, the Lucifer from Hamisa and the Danubian provinces. And this is because Syrian soldiers served in the Danubian region in Europe, and this is where the Romans began to adopt Azizos as their own, again assigning the name of Lucifer to that. Now you may be wondering, how could Azizos be god of the morning star if it's associated with Mars? And the reason is that Mercury and Mars, when they're rising in the east before the sunrise at certain times, when it's that time of the season, they can also be a morning star event. And even in America, the Pawnee Indians would sacrifice a young maiden at the time that Mars was the morning star. We know that Azizos was associated with Mars because we have a quote from the Emperor Julian. "Now I am aware that Ares, which is the Greek name for the Roman Mars, who is called Azizos by the Syrians who inhabit Emesa, precedes Helios, or the sun, in the sacred procession." So he's indicating that the Syrians who worshipped Azizos worshipped him in the sense that he would lead the sun rising in the east. And the name of Sod best means blessed. Now, the Saudi royal family derives from a tribe, the Banu Hanifa, who are actually a derivative of an Arabic tribe, the Aniza, who ultimately descended from the Rabia tribe. And this body of tribal Arabs ranged as far as southern Turkey. And in fact, there's a city in southern Turkey in Kurdistan, Diyarbakir, which is named after these particular Bedouins. So the name Muhammad Salman Abdulaziz Saud, if we go back even as far as the pre-Islamic inscriptions from whence some of these words derived, we come up with praiseworthy is the two-imaged servant of the Almighty, otherwise known as the morning star, the blessed. Now, while the meaning and numerical value of this name is intriguing to say the least, we can't say anything definitively about that. We can, at this point, not make any conclusions. But what we do know, even from today, this news story out of Israel National News indicates that there is something going on behind the scenes between Israel and Saudi Arabia at this very moment. I believe this is because the American administration is moving away from Saudi, and the result of this is that Saudi Arabia is drawing closer to Israel. And in fact, there's a discussion that maybe they could form a defense alliance. Another interesting item is that before Passover, which occurs on the 28th of March, the Israelis have a national election on the 23rd of March. Prime Minister Netanyahu is in deep trouble at this point, in that polls do not have him able to complete enough seats to form a new government. And the pressure is coming on him from his right wing. So I expect that he will do something drastic to appeal to his right wing base to increase his votes, because if he loses the election, there's a good chance he will have to face the charges against him, which could result in jail time. If he wins the election, he could probably stall this effort, and he would not have to face charges at least immediately. So I fully expect him to pull a drastic move before the election on the 23rd. Now, could that mean something to do with Temple Mount and resumption of sacrifice? Well, that certainly would appeal to the right-wing base and could increase his votes. So I'm going to be watching to see if Temple Institute resumes Passover and even the daily sacrifice during the week of Passover this year. Now, if that happens, then it will be interesting to see if the sacrifice is stopped and who is in position to stop it. And at that point, we can make conclusions. But either way, our hypothetical timeline and our video today can be falsified if these events don't transpire. And whatever happens, Shalom, he is in complete control. Nothing catches him by surprise. And therefore, we can take comfort in that fact as believers. Until next time, good day.